Good morning to my fellow Snyder fans. Let's talk about VFX, AI, and job employment. Yesterday I've learned that in the next couple of years 90% of VFX and animation jobs will be handed over to AI, which could be problematic going forward with our campaign of restoring the Snyderverse. Thing is, you definitely need workers to do a real good job on VFX and animation. Without those workers, you wouldn't be able to get much done with AI alone. Now, don't get me wrong, but I also heard that from the praise I've learned from Godzilla -1 movie, I learned that movie had only 35 VFX workers credited for their job on the CGI and special effects and stuff, which is amazing. However, due to all the tension and political climate here in the US, you would expect at least 2 times more than 35. Also with animation, it leaves lots of people skeptical and troubled on how they can proceed with AI going forward, especially when it comes to how many people will be left jobless. Now, LA is Los Angeles is one of the largest cities here in the United States, if not the #1 largest. And there are approximately 12 million people living over there. That anything could easily go down. Now, and it's always important to have actual human workers in the movie industry and not hand it all over to AI, because that wouldn't just create problems, it would create skepticism and uncertainty moving forward. And if we are to get Man of Steel 2 and the rest of the Snyderverse restored, and make sure that studios don't hold back on bringing onto the big screen of live-action cinemas the exact characters we want to see, and not always those we keep seeing already, there's a lot of precautions we need to take to guarantee that there will not be such meddling. It will take more than just security around perimeters of each building to make sure of that. So much and so on. You would need to have the studios at a different location and make sure there's enough money for their budgets to make these movies look good with these characters we want to see. Now, I like to discuss more, but I gotta wait for my bus. Now, another thing to mention moving forward regarding AI and stuff at the studios. One thing is certain, that the more AI that's centralized into the movie and streaming industry, the more potential censorship algorithms that may come about. Now, censorship has always been an obstacle since the 80s for what characters that we want to see in a live-action film. To do that, there are sure to be some accommodations and recommendations and standards to meet if we are to bypass those censorships and get Brainiac and other characters into the live-action cinematic DC movies to make up for lost time. And not only do we need to get rid of ESG and DEI or put limits on both, but also we've got to get rid of every employee that works for BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Those are the top 3 shareholders who are causing so much damage to not just our economy and globally, but also the ones causing all this corruption in the movie industry. I mean, subverting people's expectations depends on how they are executing it. And believe me, seeing how severe they are, they've been with many films like the Superman, Christopher Reeve films, the Iron Man movies, and so much more. It's really irritated a lot of people, especially Spider-Man 3. And believe me, but hear me out. Live-action superhero films don't need to be done exactly as the comics 100%, but elements from the comics are needed to help people in the movie industry progress forward with ideas to include in certain projects. Yeah, and of course, by making sure that the top 3 institutional shareholders have less control over each of the big 5 studios and the streaming services, there won't be, as well as setting up some standards for people to meet in order to overcome censorship barriers. AI won't be that big a problem. Also, we do need to keep on fighting also, and to restore the Snyderverse. So keep up with the hashtags. And even if we do get these executive board members out, they'll be sure to leave some contractual obligations behind that would not allow us to immediately undo and remove everything they've implemented. We'd be able to get rid of some of what's been implemented, but not all. Besides, it would take time. And for now, we also got to make sure they don't get. As for Apple, if I were to allow them to buy the entire Walt Disney Company, I would only allow them to buy up Marvel and Pixar. Star Wars and Disney shouldn't be going over to them unless they sack some of the woke scum they've got in their studios. And believe me, we all want Disney and the rest of Hollywood to not have so much DEI linked activism involved, because that's what's ruining the film industry, and we really got to take serious action while we can. Be sure to subscribe once you've finished watching this video. Thanks. One last thing. I also want to discuss how the possibility of having AI let you do scripts with voice recording. It's kind of a challenging task to ever anticipate, especially when you've got to use your voice and no telling how long you've got to keep on speaking through the microphone and stuff. To have AI submit your words and input onto the blank spaces on a computer and stuff. It's quite exhausting. It'd be quite exhausting if that were to be the case. I'd always stick to keyboards. And aside from prints, well, the printing part while using AI is also another thing that can worry me. You know, something comes out that you want printed up and ends up being different, completely different. That's another thing. And heck, it doesn't even matter if people are watching me or not. That would be encouraged to do this kind of thing, because we've seen it happen in other ways and on other different subjects too. You would definitely need a trustworthy electrician to help make sure AI follows through with your commands on what to input on a script, and not have it secretly conspire against you. Anyway, that's all I got to say for now.